Bye-bye. Hello. So, Buffer Festival is officially over, which is kind of sad. It was my first Buffer Festival, and I kind of invited myself, or I tried to invite myself, and then I got the invite. My friends, Laura from Laura DIY, well, my boyfriend Devin told me that I should email them and see if I can possibly become a feature creator at Buffer. And at first I didn't want to. I was too nervous about it. I was like, no, they're not gonna want me to come over because I'm practically nobody on YouTube. But yeah, they wanted me on there because I'm one of the more unique and interesting YouTubers, if you will. So I did end up on 2 screenings, one of them being the Science and Education, and the other being Women of YouTube. On Science and Education, I was with Matthew Santoro, Jake from Vsauce 3, Hannah Witten, Sabrina Cruz, who was already a friend of mine, a couple other people who I wasn't very familiar with. And then on Women of YouTube, I was with Hannah again, my friend Megan Tonjes, Estee was on there, and a couple other people that I wasn't familiar with. I think that's what makes me so nervous about being on events like these, like with VidCon or Buffer Festival. I don't watch YouTube much anymore, and if I do, it's always a select number of people, probably people that wouldn't make it to these things. So before getting into the actual screens, you can backtrack a little bit and talk about the events that happened before the actual screening. I did get to stay at a hotel, and it was a pretty nifty hotel, and there was a hospitality suite so you can get free snacks and pizza and stuff. We actually did eat out a lot. When you have so many YouTubers in one tiny room, sometimes it's just better to eat out than try to fight people for food, because the real food came when everybody would, you know, go up there, then they would stay there, and it was just so crowded. So the first day of the event was the gala, the red carpet, and we did dress up pretty nifty. I actually got to borrow my dress from Laura, so thank you, Laura, for letting me a dress. Food was good, and we had to wait for our limos to come pick us up, and that was one of the things that actually bummed me out, was I was the last feature creator, I believe, to actually get a limo. So by the time that we went to the red carpet, pretty much nobody was there, like all the interview people, whatever, nobody was there, so it just wasn't as fun. The red carpet was something that I was really looking forward to, and that just was a bummer, but oh well. If there's one thing I've learned about this stuff, is that next time, if there is a buffer, I am wearing a pantsuit because it's warmer. October is just way too cold of a month to do red carpet events, I know. And then moving on to the actual screenings, like I said though, I was on 2 screenings, and there were actually meetups before them, but I did not go to any of them. One, because I did not think it was really necessary for me to go, because I didn't think there would be anybody there. I only knew of one person that for sure was going, and we ended up meeting somewhere else. But actually what was kind of funny about it was that I don't know why this happened, but Buffer staff, I believe it was Buffer staff, called my hotel room with the voice phone. I'm not the one you call using a voice phone too. But yeah, they called and they told me that the meetups were actually mandatory, but then they said that because the meetups were not captioned, they did not have a captioner for me. I was the exception and I didn't have to go. Buffer did provide me with a live captioner, so I had a computer in front of me or an iPad in front of me. I had different live captioners on both days, so the way that we went about it was a little bit different. For Science and Education, it was a little bit more private for us. Everybody went up on stage one at a time, and then we all went together. And so we were in the back during the actual video preview, so I was, you know, reading all the captions like in my own little corner. Whereas with Women of YouTube, we were all on stage together, sitting down, so I had the computer to my left, and while everyone's kind of looking this way or this way, I'm that person mostly looking this way, and I'll show you a picture over here where you'll be able to see that. I was very, very nervous about the screenings because 1, I'd never done this before, 2, I wasn't by myself, and you would think that if you had other people with you, it would take the nerves away a little bit, which it kind of does, but if you're like me and you can't understand the majority of the people there, it's kind of like you have to constantly ask questions over and over and make sure you have all the information so you don't screw up, because if something happens, it's probably gonna be because of me, and I didn't want that. But it all went really well. I think most people premiered the same video if they had multiple screenings. I, however, did a different video for both screenings. For science and education, I did another closed captioning video. Basically, I just did a brand new one and I made it shorter, more to the point for the people on the screening with me and for the people in the audience. It's pretty much the same thing as the other "you need to close caption, this is how you do it" videos on my channel, so I'm not going to put that video on my channel like other people will with their videos, because it's just the same thing. But what was really awesome is when we all had our Q&A, the very first thing that was mentioned was from Jake from Vsauce3, and he talked about how he already captions all his videos. And I knew that because when VidCon was coming, I had tweeted him thanking him for captioning his channel, and he talked about how important it was, and that made me feel really good. Like, the first thing that gets talked about is a subject that a very small YouTuber brings up, a YouTuber that nobody really knows, so that made me pretty happy, and I think I might have cried on stage just a little bit. And then Matthew Santoro, who was also on the screening, also mentioned how he was looking into it and that he was going to start doing it. And what was really awesome is today he left me a post on my Facebook telling me that he had already gotten 225 caption files from Rev and put them all on his video. So his entire channel is captioned now, which is totally freaking awesome, because I think the only person to do something like that with that many videos was Tyler Oakley back in January. So thank you, Matthew, for captioning your entire channel so quickly and for inviting me to that party on Saturday. That was pretty awesome, thank you. So not only did Jake, talk about it, and then Matt started captioning, Leah Rifkin, I believe is her name, she was on the screening as well, and Out of Frame TV, I believe is what it's called, is being captioned. And then we move on to the Women of YouTube screening, which was just wow. There were so many people on Women of YouTube, and I did a more general video like I'm a deaf woman on YouTube, blah blah blah, more misogyny, more different kinds of misogyny, and that's not going to be premiered on here either. I don't have the file, but I might redo it because both videos were kind of last minute and I would rather redo it and make it better to put on my channel. But that went really well. Leah, I'll put her name here, she premiered a video there and it's captioned on her channel now, so I will link that down below because it was pretty awesome. And Esther is looking into it as well, so I have to email her at some point so we can get that going. I'm not sure what the rest of the YouTubers are going to do, unfortunately, but hopefully they will get on the captioning train as well. That would be pretty awesome. And Estee and I got a selfie together, which was pretty awesome. Well, the good thing with Estee was we both relate. We wanted to step out of the beauty world because we kind of felt trapped in that little beauty bubble, because it's a thing. A lot of women on YouTube, when they're just starting on YouTube, they think that you should probably just stick to being a makeup person on YouTube because they tend to be more successful. And not only that, if you stick to the beauty bubble thing, you kind of hide away from the comments that you would get if you were more of an outspoken kind of person, if you talked about social issues or feminism or whatever. It was pretty awesome to see that another person on the panel felt the same way as me and wanted to, move out of that and work onto something else, regardless of the fact that other people have kind of made comments about how you shouldn't do this or didn't do that, or shouldn't do that. Yeah. Other than that, Buffer was pretty fun. Parties were so-so, but parties and, me, we don't really mesh very well. I met a lot of awesome people that became friends and became acquaintances, and people that asked me about captioning outside of panels, and I would definitely want to do this again. So thank you Corey and Sam and everybody else from Buffer Festival for doing this thing, and you know, for inviting me to come over, and fingers crossed that we will have another Buffer Festival next year, because it was really fun. It was really awesome. It's a great way to find out about people, and I would definitely want to go. I will see you later. Bye.